Hello, good evening, and welcome to Unfiltered Conversations on Cleveland TV in Diaspora. Cleveland TV in Diaspora is an online television platform created to bring Africans in diaspora and back home together to celebrate their achievements and successes. Join us today by signing up on www.cleveland.com. I am your host, Oladokum Damilola, and I have with me on the show today Dr. Ibrahim Ayoub. Ibrahim Ayoub, I don't know if you're a doctor, sir.
Not yet.
Okay. I have Ibrahim Ayoub on the show with me today. He's the Group CEO, ITIC Limited and Invest Tourism Limited. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to you. Thank you to having me.
Thank you. And together today we'll be discussing the topic facilitating investment in sustainable tourism development in Africa. The topic again is facilitating investments in sustainable tourism development in Africa. So let's get right into the topic. So can you please introduce yourself to us?
Well, good evening, everyone. How we position ourselves? Well, we are global advisors focusing on investment in the travel and tourism sector. We are four partners in this venture. Dr. Taleb Rifai, the former Secretary General of UNWTO, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, who is also our chairman. Then we have another partner, Gerald Lawless. Gerald doesn't need introduction. He needs no introduction. Paul Hoskins, a destination marketing specialist, and then myself, who is a group CEO of the company. We have two companies, ITIC and Invest Tourism, which are both headquartered in London, the United Kingdom. If you would like, I can say a little bit about what we do. We have two sides of our activities. Invest Tourism mainly facilitate and structures investment in the global travel and tourism projects, bringing FDI into destination and bringing investment. We help to facilitate raising capital for, project developers. What we do, we produce their business plan, we look at their financial feasibilities and analysis, and then we talk to various potential investors and lenders in their respective businesses. Our other activity is our PR, we call it our PR platform. It's a conferencing platform that ITIC is now became, I would say, a recognized brand. It's an international tourism and investment corporation. Its main objective is to facilitate, challenging dialogue between tourism industry leaders and stakeholders on sustainable tourism development. And then working in close collaboration with government, investors, project owners, and developers. Our dialogues, we contribute to setting up joint ventures that invest in innovative tourism and travel facilities, infrastructure, and services. So that's a little bit overall what we do in our activities and businesses.
Yeah, so you're a big game in the tourism industry.
We try. We are still a young player, established in 2018. COVID obviously came and disrupt like every businesses or everyone around the world. So now with the recovery, we try to position ourselves and then help all the different players in the sector.
Okay, that's impressive. So how would you define tourism and how would you rate the worldwide growth of the sector?
Well, this is quite an interesting question. As a normal me as a normal person, individual, of course, defining tourism, I go abroad on a trip to enjoy myself, but tourism with my family, of course, and try to experience in other culture, histories, or also, learning, enjoying the culinary. In every destination you go, and landscape, of course, that's a normal a normal tourist does. But tourism is much more than that. I would say it's an enabler. People doesn't really know what tourism brings to the economy. I mean, when you look at the various sectors of the economy that tourism enable, I mean, in a destination or in any destination is really massive, right? And when we look at the you know, the other sectors of the economy that depends on tourism, construction, agribusiness, you know, furniture, SMEs that supply to the sector. It's a really enormous, massive, right? And we say like tourism is 10% of global GDP. That's what it was before COVID, right? And still the biggest employer globally. Now, when we look at the growth, I mean, post-COVID, I mean, tourism is doing quite well. And when we look at this, I mean, despite inflation and so forth, we are looking at an annual growth of 5.5%, right? I mean, up to year 2032. And that will outpace the overall annual global economic growth, which is around 2.7%. Right, and that is how tourism really contributes into the global GDP actually.
Yeah, so the tourism sector is still a developing sector in the world economies, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Absolutely.
Okay, so what are your company's plans for tourism in Africa?
Well, Africa has always been high on our agenda since inception of our company. So I would say that we have a very good footprint into the continent, right? And Africa is a land of untapped opportunities. That's how we look at it. And we accompany investors in unlocking their broad spectrum potentialities, especially the tourism sector. But when you look at tourism sector, we're looking at, like I said earlier, is an enabler to the other sectors of the economy. So we look a little bit beyond, because Africa needs a lot of investment in different infrastructures so that it enables tourism to happen, really, like energy, so renewable energy. You know, we look at other connected sector within the tourism itself, look agribusiness. I mean, there are different, demand that come on the table for us to cater for. But otherwise, we also make a point of honor to channel investment to different African, destination in a way they can generate long-term benefits to the local communities, and by promoting social inclusion and the long-term sustainability of the destination, which is very, very important. Like my chairman always say, you know, I don't really care about tourism, but I do care about what tourism does to the people. I mean, that's what we look at, about the investment into the sector. It's what about how it helps to create its own job to SMEs. I mean, for SMMEs, in order to be able to supply the sector. It's not about, it's serving rich people in 5-star hotels or accommodation. It's here about what it does to the people, how you help all the different SMEs supplying these big 5-star hotel chain to be sustainable in their development, and absolutely to create their own employment, their own jobs, So basically, in all the projects that ITIC drove, we put sustainability first, so that sustainability not only on the natural setting that preserve, but not only for tourists of our generation, but also for future generations.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say that tourism can be like a business opportunity, or can sustain businesses rather.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it is an enabler to the other sectors of the economy. When tourism doesn't work, the other sectors also are affected. When you look, construction, furniture, the food supply, entertainment. You look at IT supply, so all of them are depending on tourism. I mean, they have a certain percentage between 10 to 15% on tourism businesses.
Right. Okay, so why should the world see Africa as a tourist destination?
Well, one of the key advantages of Africa as a tourist destination is its unspoiled wildlife, right? And natural heritage, which is extremely important. And also the cultural, diversity in Africa. I always say, look at Africa as one destination, but with multiple opportunities, right? The fact that the continent has been preserved from mass tourism during previous decades constitute a blessing in disguise, as travelers have now the feeling that they get, it's an authentic experience of each and every destination has to offer, and its people, their social, cultural aspect, diversity, why you visit the each and every African destination has its own, how to say, experience in itself. And that's the beauty of the continent.
Yeah, so we're all unique in our differences, in our diversity, right?
Absolutely right.
Right. Okay, so what's your favorite African destination?
Well, that's a tricky one to answer. Let me tell you, one of the destination that I'm not putting it as my favorite destination, but I have to, in a way, because there are so many destinations, they're all great destinations. When you look at South Africa, Botswana is one of the destination I have discovered lately. Not because we are mandated by the government to bring investment, because it's a beauty in itself. When you look at the reserve, their national, preservation of the country. It's a huge country. It's and it sits in middle of the Southern African region. And when you look at, I'm not here to do the promotion of Botswana, but I will say truly, that the best meat I have eaten is from Botswana up to now.
I actually heard that they have the best beef.
The best beef. I think it's globally known, right? In UK, it's positioned as a premium meat, Okay. But other destinations like Sierra Leone, like Kenya, Namibia, South Africa, Cape Town. When you look at KZN, they have their unique specificities. They are all great. Egypt, for example. When you look at North Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, they are all untapped. Senegal, look at the number of tourists that come to 54 destinations, 54 countries, if I'm not mistaken, right? When you look at, I believe it's 1.3 billion people travel around the world before COVID. It's only a fraction of that comes to Africa. It's 55 million. So now, post-COVID, I believe this figure is going to grow. And you look at Africa, it's again an interesting growth, even though 54 million. But we need to get more people. It's untapped destination. It needs more visibility. It needs more also develop infrastructure so that you can welcome tourists into the continent. Like the Middle East need to discover, the Asian need to discover, the African diaspora around the world need to come and to their motherland and to discover more about all these different experiences that they can have.
Okay, that's good. So with the several opportunities in the tourism sector is offering to entrepreneurs, how can entrepreneurs harness these opportunities?
Well, in any untapped business, so there's a great opportunity of bringing higher profitability, right? I think that before investors look for business prospect, in an African destination. They must first try to understand the country cultural dimension, which is extremely important, right? And respect the values as well as a tradition, which are deep rooted in a way, right? I mean, it's not a question that I'm advising, it's my personal opinion, right? Is to undertake consultation with different stakeholders. I mean, to understand their feelings, to win their hearts and minds, like we say, so that any future tourist development benefit not only the investor, but also the local communities in terms of job creation, entrepreneurship, opportunities and linkages between hotels, tourism, attraction, and those living in the vicinity. And that what I'm answering you here, I learned that from my chairman, right, Dr. Taleb Rifai. He always say, I don't care about tourism, but I do care what it does for its people. And if you try to look, like you say, you look after the people, you help the business, the investment, help for the people in the vicinity to develop themselves, to supply this big 5-star development. I mean, at the end of the day, they will protect that investment, So that's how I look at it, and not only in Africa, but in every investment, in any destination, actually. But I think in Africa, it's very, very important. And I think Africa is getting more and more trained people, educated people, right, that understand and that have the and there's a manpower which is there. And I think this is an opportunity for investors to look at.
Okay, so what investment opportunities are present within the sector that Africans can explore? Can you give us some examples?
Well, there is a wide window of opportunities, right, in the field of leisure tourism. I mean, when you look at greenfield development, right, greenfield development is quite big in Africa. I mean, numbers talk about itself. I mean, that comes from the World Bank. I mean, 62% up to 29 billion in 2020, and from 77 billion in 2019. I mean, we are looking at international project finance of large infrastructure. In between that felt, between COVID and so forth. But these developments are concerning, right? And when you look at a shopping mall, medical travel is important, cultural tourism, religious, I would say. I mean, it could be religious as well. Business meeting and MICE are becoming more and more. When you look at a destination like Botswana, like Cape Town, like North African destination are pushing more and more about MICE, and some of the North African destination are promoting medical and wellness travel, and which is becoming more and more. But then when you look on the other side, there is barriers that we need to overcome. The air connectivity. I mean, the air connectivity within Africa is just a pain, I would say, right? Using that word. So this is one of the barriers that prevent the growth and maybe that impact on investment on the sector. So we need to look seriously at how do we enhance air connectivity into the African destination. Like I said, we have also another side of our activity is our investment platform, where it's a conference platform where we enable all decision makers to come on under one roof to discuss about challenging topics, and one of them is air connectivity. And I can say that we had an air connectivity panel, a very interesting air connectivity panel in Cape Town during our investment summit in partnership with WTM, where now we are looking at setting up a task force, an advisory task force, in order to look at how we could eventually help to solve, not to solve, but I say bringing ideas, bringing ventures, bringing maybe new partnership in order for airlines to be able to interconnect within the African destination. But it's impossible, for if you are in the south, you want to connect to the west or to the north, you need to go outside the continent and then come back into the continent. And this is not possible, right? Even though AFCFTA has been doing quite a lot of good work. And I think, with COMESA, with SADC, they all collaborate together. You have Eastern African, community. So basically, I believe there are good hope and good discussion around where I believe this air connectivity would also be able within the continent and outside the continent as well. Because at the end of the day, you want, when a tourist come for a week or two, you want them to be able to visit two or three destinations. And that's, for example, I believe a country like Botswana in the Southern African region that sits in the middle of the southern over African can be the linkage with other destination in the region. I think that we should look at that as partnership, how you position each and every destination within their region so that they can interconnect with the other destination. And that's what will bring more tourists and more investment into the continent.
All right. So can you tell us about some of the collaborations that you've had with African countries to promote global tourism?
Well, ITIC, we try to be we try to be a driving force. In uniting, efforts between African countries. First of all, like I said earlier, to attract investment in their tourism sector. We try to foster dialogue, between ministers of tourism. And that's where the beauty of our conferencing platform has proven up to now. Without mentioning names, we have enabled linkages and meetings between various ministers, bilateral and multilateral meetings that we organize between some destination, and that's where we have in our conference platform deal room, ITIC deal room, where we enable all these different discussions to happen, right, between developers and project owners, between different destination ministers, at higher level, so that they can start talking bilateral exchanges and different, best practices they can share. So which we do between either African destination themselves or between European and African destination. And one of the good example, I would say, I can quote that, is between Caribbean and Africa, because we had a big event where we were one of the main partners in Jamaica, where the idea started, I would say, between ITIC enable that this first initial discussion between Honorable Minister of Tourism of Botswana and the Honorable Minister of Jamaica. It started with a first discussion, and then it ended up with an event in Jamaica where we had Kenya and Sierra Leone. I would say Sierra Leone has also started to do that Africa Caribbean festival that was done last year, very successfully in December. And then we all met up in Jamaica in order to connect and to discuss. And I think the linkages between Caribbean and Africa is quite deep rooted. And I think, and like now, Afrexim Bank has set up a fund of $1.5 billion in order to invest into Caribbean project, and also help African businesses that want to go to Caribbean, or Caribbean businesses that want to come and invest in Africa. So I believe this is a big initiative that has been set up, and now you can see the type of investment rollout that is being done between the two regions.
Right. Okay, so post-COVID-19, right, what can stakeholders such as hoteliers, airlines, and the likes do to recoup the losses they encountered from the pandemic?
Well, The past 2 years have taught us a lot of things. Tourism sector, especially the hotel sector, have been on their knees because, you know, zero. They are generating practically in some destination. Some destination were closed, so they were not even generating any income, right? And especially during lockdown. I mean. We can say that despite we're talking about post-COVID, that a lot of are benefiting from the solid recovery of the post-COVID. We look at looking at now a destination like Jamaica has got 4.2 million tourist visitors post-COVID. So which means this is getting, even better than pre-COVID, situation, and I would look at a lot of destinations have diversify their offering, reposition their companies, on emerging and growing market, and that's what is a lot of them are doing, and I believe that people have been locked themselves for almost 2 years, no traveling. And after post-COVID, I believe a lot of people have started travel again. Business travel have well started. And when you look at the numbers, you see all aeroplanes full from business class to economy, all full. When you look at the occupancy of different, even in the United Kingdom, Dubai has been one of the biggest example. I always say Dubai has been the biggest example, has been one of the first destination that opened. The overall UAE, policy have been a winner. When you look at the number of people that relocated, from across the world to Dubai in order to plug and play, it has been. Dubai had became the center of the world. At the end of the day, you see the number of people that came, and that has made the recovery of their tourism sector boom like you won't believe. Even Emirates posted a very good profit margin, which has made them to recover. And I believe that by 2024, hopefully that war between Ukraine and Russia will come to an end. That's what we all pray. And we see that initiative of the African leaders going to Russia next month, I believe, or July, or is it in June or July? I can't recall exact date. But that is led by the president of South Africa. It's a very good initiative in order to go and lead that talk to come, to negotiate, and hopefully that war will come to an end. And post-war, whatever geopolitical situation we would experience, I think the future would be bright. Peace is the motto of good recovery. That's what I would say.
Yeah, peace is the motto of good recovery. That's a good one.
Yes. Thank you.
Right. So can you tell us more about the International Tourism and Investment Conference as well as CAL International?
Well, that's two international ITIC conferences, like I said earlier, is our conference platform. We up to now, for the past 5 years, we have conferences around the world. Our global one is in London. Every November, we do it in London. We started in 2018, and it was focused on Africa. 2019, again, it was 100% focused on Africa and emerging destination. We had other destination as well. And our gala dinner was a Kenyan, Maasai show, and exclusively from the Maasai, and we were promoting, and like I said, Africa has always been high on our agenda. Then we have a chapter, conferencing chapter in Cape Town, where it caters for the African continent. Dubai is our center for the Middle East. We did one in Bulgaria for the Balkan and the Central Europe, and the next one is going to be in 2024. The Caribbean and Americas, that's how it's going to be called as from 2024, but we did the Caribbean one in February this year in Jamaica. The Asian, we are now preparing for the Asian and Pacific Asia conference in Indonesia. We are going to confirm that that is scheduled in December. We are having a forthcoming conference in Botswana on the 13th and 15th of September. So this is bringing FDI into the destination. And Botswana is an interesting, geographically speaking, when you look at Botswana positioning, is just sitting in the middle of the Southern African region, like I mentioned earlier. And I believe that this destination has a lot to offer to the other destination. I mean, connecting all the other destination. And Botswana is an amazing destination, looking at the blend of people, the multicultural people that are there. And the food is nice, that's very good. And the wildlife experience is fantastic. So I believe that would be our next conference. We'll invite all your, your guests to come and discover. And there are enormous high potential of investment into the destination itself.
Right. So I think we look forward to getting more information as the events draw closer.
Absolutely. And then to answer to your other question is SCOL International. I'm a proud member of SCOL International. It's one of the oldest, tourism association and of professional founded. I try to get the year right. I think it's 1934. That how when it was founded, and this is one of the biggest international professional association, and it's I believe it's within 86 or 90 countries. I don't quote me for that, but it's above 80 countries for sure. And it's quite interesting numbers of people that are members around the world now. It's almost above 13,000 members globally. So far the largest tourism association. Of course, WTTC on the other side is more corporate. It's all the corporate members, whereas SCOL is the professionals of the sector.
All right. Okay, so as an expert in world tourism, what practical advice would you offer to both tourism practitioners and the government in their efforts to develop world tourism in Africa?
Wow, that's a very challenging question. I won't call myself as an expert, but we would say with our experience, and especially what we learn from our the expert in our company like Dr. Taleb Rifai, Gerald Lawless, Paul Hoskins have been there for many decades of their experience. But as ITIC, we would suggest that preserve the uniqueness of the tourism of each and every African destination is important. Fight for the noble cause of sustainability, right? Integrate both sustainability, resilience. Resilience is a very important, which is then sustainability and resilience. That type of dimension will bring investment, and this would be in any future tourism development that either you look at government development or private sector operators to undertake into future development in their respective destination, I would say.
Such good advice. So what are your final words for us today?
Well, tourism, think about it. It's an enabler to the other sectors of the economy. When tourism goes well, all the other sectors of the economy goes well. Tourism brings peace. We always say it's because it's a sharing of cultures, sharing of of people, mixing of people, discoveries, right, of different cultures, of different culinaries, food, music, of different experience you make. And that's what bring people together. And that's what it equates to peace and love. I believe if we try to look at what tourism brings to the world, I think then people will start fighting, will start, look at our differences and bring everybody together.
Yes, peace is the motto of good progress, like you said.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you for joining us today on the show, Mr. Ibrahim Ayoub. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure too. And it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me with you.
Thank you. Thank you to our viewers for joining us today on Unfiltered Conversation. I had a conversation with Ibrahim Ayoub, who is the Group CEO, ITIC Limited and Invest Tourism Limited. And together we were talking about facilitating investments in sustainable tourism development in Africa. Please remember, like he said, that peace is the motto of good progress. I'll see you again next time. I am Damilola Oladakum. Have a good evening.